My district is home to many of Madoff's victims, and as a representative from a state with millions of jobs dependent on the financial sector, I'm mindful that protecting this industry's reputation and integrity from predators and thieves like Madoff is absolutely crucial to maintaining our country's economic leadership. Some of our country's most sophisticated investors were duped by Madoff. This leads me to ask you a few questions. Madoff's firm was unusual in that it performed custody, trade clearing, and statement generation functions in addition to managing clients' funds. If custodial, clearing, and statement reporting were done by a reputable third party or parties, would this not have made it far more difficult for Madoff to dupe his clients and to fool regulators?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we would look at very carefully as part of our review. I don't know that I could answer that question today before having completed the audits and investigations, but that is something certainly that must be carefully scrutinized.
Also, it has been suggested that Madoff's tiny and little-known auditor was a red flag. What minimum standards should we set for qualifications of accountants to the money management business?
Yeah, I understand the point, and as I indicated, we're going to look not only at the specific situation, but what rules we could recommend or policies, such as you mentioned, to ensure that where there are red flags potentially or information that is out there, that they're responded to immediately. So I agree with you.
Now, additionally, many people threw up red flags. And one of them was that Madoff's returns typically hovered between 10 and 12%. People even wrote articles about don't ask, don't tell, raising concerns about his investment strategy. One in May of 2001 by Erwin Arvinlund, which was in Barron's. It should have thrown up a red flag to investigators, to the SEC, to the general public. Why didn't these questions that he raised alert the regulators? In addition, Harry Markopoulos, he was in regular communications with the SEC, raising red flags, asking questions. He contacted them in 2000. In 2005, he sent the SEC a 19-page report entitled "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." Why in the world didn't anyone respond to his allegations? What happened to his report? And did the SEC investigate his allegations? Yeah,
I mean, that's exactly what I intend to find out. Certainly the articles that you mentioned initially are things that we have to look at to see if the SEC examiners were aware of the articles, reviewed the articles, how they viewed the articles, and whether they factored that into their determinations. Or if they weren't aware of the articles, why weren't they aware of the articles? And certainly Mr. Markopoulos, who, as I said, I'm meeting with later this month, we need to trace that complaint through the different offices that it went to determine what individuals dealt with that, what were their determinations that were made, why was it that they took the action they took. So I will tell you that my investigation and audit efforts will get to the bottom of exactly those issues.
And when the key regulator is totally asleep, even when whistleblowers are calling and trying to alert them, as was the case before us with the Madoff case, we would like to think that there were some checks and balances in our complex regulatory system that would alert other regulators, the administration or Congress. Why did that not happen in this case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need to look at what was the information that the individuals within the SEC were aware of, and why was it that they took or didn't take the appropriate actions. So that is going to be the focus of my efforts.
Many of us have lost confidence in the SEC. It's pretty pathetic when a major newspaper, major periodicals, when whistleblowers issue reports and warnings, when they have a system that they won't explain to anyone, and an auditor that no one ever heard of, that this should be raising some concerns. So my question is, for those of us who don't trust the SEC anymore, what additional authority should be given to other regulators to provide a better safeguard against the sort of agency failure that occurred with the SEC? What is so frustrating about this, we could not do anything as a government to prevent 9/11. We could have prevented this if we responded to whistleblower complaints, articles raised by other investment bankers, and a model that no one understood and an auditor that no one ever heard of. So where can we go to get the proper oversight? I do not believe we got it in the past from the SEC. I don't have trust in them for the future.
I can certainly understand the concerns, and my efforts will be to find out exactly what happened, how it could be that where it was spelled out in such a way to the world's biggest Ponzi scheme, that wouldn't be sufficient information to look into a potential Ponzi scheme. So I can understand the concern about the credibility. All I can do is find out what happened, report back in terms of what failures were caused in this case, and then determine or make recommendations about what action should be taken as a result.
I look forward to your report. My time has expired on why no one read the report on the world's largest Ponzi scheme, and now we have the world's largest Ponzi scheme.